Free dope, free dope, free dope, free dope, free dope, free dope. Ooh. You're now tapped in to Free Dope, the greatest podcast in the world.
That's
each
right.
week.
Every week.
Bringing you topical conversations that are sometimes intelligent but absolutely undeniably hilarious.
We do both.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Podcasting from a city near you, Free Dope starts now.
Today's actually a very huge day because I have actually my first guest on the show. So yay, hooray, hooray. This is a ginormous moment for Free Dope. I'm talking to Monique today, who I actually met on Instagram.
What's up? You
What's
came
up?
at me in my DMs like hard.
That's right. I forgot about
You
that.
can't like we're so cool now, but you forgot how hard you came at me.
I forgot about that.
You were like, I hope you're gonna visit your friend in jail. That's what you said.
Yeah. Forgot
Yeah.
about that. We'll talk about that then. We'll talk about why you're going to be visiting your friend in jail then. I mean, not to say like that, but you know what I mean. So
Right.
I would like to apologize for my first, your first impression of me.
Apology accepted.
Thank you.
You're forgiven.
If you want to join in the conversation at any point, press pause, pick up the phone, and do this.
Leave a message at 213-935-0606.
213-935-0606 is the phone number to chime in at any point because we do check the voicemails. But this is the reason that Monique and I are talking today. We're not talking about us. We're talking about
Me, Lady Ruby,
Yeah.
a small business owner, a mother, a proud American citizen who stand up to help Fulton County run an election in the middle of the pandemic.
Ruby Freeman became, I'd say, the punching bag of Donald Trump and his allies after Trump lost Georgia in the 2020 election, accusing her and her daughter of illegally running thousands upon thousands of ballots for Joe Biden to help flip that state from the win column, even though it wasn't in the win column ever for Donald Trump, to a win for Joe
I'll
Biden.
let that slide.
But you did a fantastic episode on this on your
Yeah.
show.
And y'all can go check it out if any of your viewers want to go watch that full video at Let's Talk Darling on YouTube. That's my handle across all social media platforms, by the way, if you want to follow me. So on my show, I do a full breakdown of the FOIA documents that I received. So the Freedom of Information Act documents that I received.
Which anybody
that
can request.
Anybody can request. Now, these took a long time to get. Okay, why I don't know, because they have a certain amount of time to process it. So
Were they redacted when you got them?
They were not redacted. There were actually notes in there that had been updated. So there was like things that had been added after the fact, and they put like the dates in there of when they were added. Just the police report was updated like months after the fact. It was really, really weird. It was really, really weird. But you know, Ruby was working. So let me take this back for a second. I'm going to read off my notes. So Ruby was employed by a temporary agency called Happy Faces, and that was founded by Stacey Abrams. Okay?
Who was running for governor in 2020 but lost to Brian Kemp, the Republican.
Right,
Okay.
right. I can't stand Stacey Abrams. Anyways, so her company Happy Faces contracted with Fulton County, Georgia elections. And Ruby and her daughter worked at the absentee ballot department, okay?
Mhm.
Ruby's daughter, Shay, was her supervisor, which was quite interesting because where Miss Ruby became famous, essentially, was she decided after taking 10 days off of work, because she said some funny stuff was going on, she took 10 days off of work and she came back and she decided to Instagram live her walking into the office, and she was whispering and, like, hey, y'all, I'm going to show y'all. She's going around showing all the ballot boxes, which is completely wrong. Like, you shouldn't be doing that in the first place. But she also made the mistake of bragging about her desk and how she had this desk, and she shows her computer screen with the name Ruby Freeman. Okay. Little did she know, later that day or the next day, there was going to be a water main break. Everybody was going to be told to leave the building except for Ruby and her daughter and a few select individuals who rushed her and said, okay, we're going to pull these ballots out and we got to start scanning these in. And she thought, I thought we were going home.
I didn't read that it was a water main break, though. From my understanding, it was just a urinal that was overflowing.
The water main break is what was reported in the media. So the night that they were doing all the counting and we were all sitting in our living room watching the maps and the numbers and all the stuff, all of a sudden the Georgia numbers weren't moving, and it was announced that there was a water main break and they had to stop the counting. Okay. So that is where we all went to bed because we didn't think that the election was going to be fully counted at that time because of that situation. But what we didn't know at that time is that there were still people in the absentee ballot counting office running ballots through the machine that they were pulling out from underneath the table. There was a very famous video where they show them pulling these big like Tupperware boxes,
like the Pelican cases that contain the absentee votes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But the video, though, right, that was at the State Farm Arena shows every single thing that happened frame by frame by frame.
Mm-hmm.
And at no point does it look like these ballots are being ran multiple times through a machine.
Mm-hmm. Well, I get what the video may have looked like, but Ruby herself testified in these documents that she said, and I go over this in my video line by line, exactly what happened. She said, we thought we were going home, so I told my daughter, let's hurry up and clean up our area. And they said, no, you're not going home. We need to scan ballots in. And she said, what ballot? There's not any ballots to scan in. And that's when they pulled out the Pelican cases. And she said, we had to start scanning. She used the exact words, fraud.
But where did you find that at, though? Because I tried to find that because I watched your video last night.
Yeah,
right?
It's in the FOIA documents.
And okay, because I searched, I swear to you, I searched up and down. Like anytime you said something in your video, I would type in Ruby Freeman fraud. Ruby Freeman says this, right? Mm-hmm. But nothing would come up.
Yeah.
On the Google, so I couldn't find anything at all.
No, because of course they're not going to have this on the Googler. Of course not. That would be actually putting facts on Google. Are you kidding me? Yeah, no, this information that I gave in my video is from these FOIA documents, which are her initial statements to police, and also her initial statements to Travion, which we'll talk about her and where she comes into play. When she said, I've been looking for a lawyer, I need protection. Ruby said, I need protection. And they asked her why. And she said, because there was fraud and I'm scared.
Before Ruby got to that point, though, the video did get made public by a conservative news outlet. I think it was the Gateway Pundit, I would say.
Yeah.
And they identified Ruby and her daughter from that video of the ballots being processed in the State Farm Arena. Then comes to a point where people are randomly showing up at Ruby's house.
Mm-hmm. Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, my name's Steve Lee.
Yep.
And I'm a pastor, and I'm also working with some folks who are trying to help Ruby out. You may want to let her know that, I've got some pro bono service for her.
So to me, it seems like that's when the whole conspiracy that's being charged in the racketeering case down in Georgia started to take place, was the fact that people were looking for a way to say that Donald Trump really won this election, even though he lost it fair and square. I'll say that. Mm-hmm. People are looking for a way and out to say that Donald Trump is the rightful winner of Georgia. Now, 2020 was a very weird election in which a lot of people voted absentee, which caused, I guess, these issues, right, to question the validity of the election, because it was the first time we had that many absentee ballots be processed. Mm-hmm. But people started showing up at our house after she essentially was doxxed by the Gateway Pundit, and also her name put out by Rudy, Giuliani, and your daddy, DT, as well.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that. And, you and I talked about it. There are some crazy Trumper people out there. How she knew that the guy, Chaplain, the Chaplain, what's his name? Oh, my gosh. Chaplain Lee, that came to her house initially, how she knew he was a Trump supporter, I don't know.
But she didn't want to talk to him at first because she said that she was scared to talk to this random white man that was there.
Yeah.
Which it's Georgia, right?
Yeah. She probably assumed he was a Trump supporter, I'm assuming.
But this happened after her name was put out into the public.
She put it out. That Instagram video that I was talking about, the Instagram live that she went live going into work that day, and she was like, look, y'all, this is my desk.
Right.
it says Ruby. You know, she was like showing her, she was showing her computer screen. So that's why when she sat in front of Congress at the January 6th hearing, she said, I should have never showed, you know, it was my fault. She felt guilty. That's what she said in these documents, that she felt guilty because she had put her name out there herself.
Right. And that's where you and I differ on right there, because it's just interesting how we can look at the same topic, right? That right there, and see it two different ways, because I think she felt guilty because of everything that fell out, right? That she made an honest mistake going into work, trying to brag that she is counting these ballots as Georgia was in a dead heat for the presidential election. And she stupidly went on Instagram broadcasting her name. She's like a 60-something-year-old woman, right? Putting her name out there so people know where she lives at now. So I think she regrets that. Doesn't regret, quote unquote, being part of any like vast conspiracy. I don't think that was
she knew.
saying.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I don't think she knew she was going to be a part. See, like this is the thing is we're Monday morning quarterbacking it, right? Like now we kind of know everything that happened, but put yourself in Ruby's place that day when that happened, or the day that she was Instagram living. She had no idea that it was going to be this that happened, you know, days after, and that there was going to be a whole election contestation. Oh my God.
Contestation.
Sometimes
I know what you
in my
mean.
brain.
There we go.
Sometimes in my brain, Spanish takes
Hey,
over.
we make
and
up
I'm like,
words here.
Yeah. Well, I'm like thinking in Spanish sometimes in my head. But anyways, so she had no idea that they were going to contest the election, that all this was going to come about. So from reading these documents, I really, truly believe, number one, she did not realize that there was, number one, a Pelican box of extra ballots to scan in, nor do I think she realized what it is was happening. Obviously, whoever planned all this did not let anybody in on what was about to go down.
Atlanta is the major city in that county, right? And they traditionally trend Democrat anyway. So that's why I don't see that there's this giant conspiracy happening, because Fulton County itself is a Democratic county. I think what happened possibly is the fact that the reason Trump actually lost is that people didn't vote for him.
You know, I don't recall what the name of the meeting was, but there was a meeting that got put out there for everybody to hear. It was a meeting with Trump and all his people, and they were talking about the results of the recount, you know, that they found, and they were going through, and they were like, X amount of people that voted were dead. And they were like, well, how did they find that out? They went through the obituaries and looked up all these people.
Mark Meadows was bragging, I think, to one of his kids that everything was a joke about, you know, finding these dead voters, that it actually did not happen.
I think so. I think somebody actually like came out one day and they said, this actually happens every election, that people who are dead vote. I don't think it's that uncommon. I think it was like the number that was very uncommon. It was some large number, and I don't have those figures in front of me. You're going to pull them up?
It says, before January 6th, Mark Meadows joked about Trump's election claims. In a text, Meadows wrote that his own son was unable to find more than a handful of votes potentially cast in the same name of dead voters. People familiar with the message say. So Mark Meadows joked about the baseless claim that large numbers of voters were fraudulently cast in the names of dead people in the days before then White House Chief of Staff participated in a phone call in which Donald Trump allegedly said there were close to 5,000 dead voters in Georgia and urged Brad Raffensperger, Georgia's Secretary of State, to overturn the 2020 election from there. So he says that he was joking in a text message with his son that these dead votes that were cast that Trump is saying happened never happened.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not going to talk about that because I don't know much about that. But I wouldn't say it's completely impossible that some of that was blown out of proportion. We now know through this whole lawsuit that went down at Fox between Fox and Dominion machines, the voting machines, that Dominion proved, I guess, 10 times over that their machines were not rigged. There was nothing going on. I mean, whether that's true or not, I don't know. Okay. But putting all that aside, going back to this testimony that Ruby herself made, saying there was funny business, you know, I was doing some stuff in there. I didn't know what I was doing, but they were telling me to do it. I thought it was very, you know, kind of out of process to be doing what we were doing. And I'm scared. She said, I'm scared. I know there was fraud. They were scanning in thousands of ballots that she's like, they came out of nowhere. I know.
Yeah,
See, I know it hurts to hear the truth.
Oh no,
Ruby.
it does. It does not.
I know it
does
hurts
not
to hear
hurt.
the truth, Liv.
because there's so much to say right there. Because it's just like it's taking for me. It just sounds like it's been taken out of context so much.
I'm sure some of it has, but you can't say this is her testimony. You can't say her own words were taken out of context when they literally wrote them down.
Testimony where though?
So I have audio here. Now, last night I could only play some audio because some of it I wasn't ready to like risk my entire YouTube channel for it. But I have audio. So I read the transcripts, but the transcripts that I read, I have a corresponding video.
Can you hit the video?
I don't know. Let's try it right now.
Okay.
Let's see. No. You hear? She said it's all fraud right there.
I didn't hear it. I only heard you say it. But I believe you, right? I believe you. You are very convicted to your opinions, which I respect highly. But it's kind of convenient that we can't play the audio. I'm just saying.
Can I read an excerpt for you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Now, I said this on my show last night. Understand this is a transcript, and it's being recorded from the police officer's body-worn camera. So that's where the audio is coming from.
This happened at the police station, right? Or is it at Ruby's house?
No, this is when she went to the police station to meet with Trayvon.
Because I want to talk about your unique connection to this whole Georgia racketeering case.
Yeah.
Because there's somebody involved, Trayvon.
Yeah.
Cutie. I call her Cutie, but it's probably Cuddy.
They said Cootie when they named her in the indictment.
And they say Cuddy on everything else.
Yeah.
But here's Trayvon's sitch in this whole debacle.
Cuddy showed up on Freeman's doorstep earlier that day, claiming she was sent by a, quote, high-profile individual to give Freeman an urgent message. Confess to Trump's voter fraud allegations, or people would come to her home in 48 hours and she would go to jail. That's why they agreed to meet at a police station, where Cuddy put Freeman on the phone with someone who tried to get Freeman to implicate herself in committing voter fraud on Election Day. Despite their attempts to intimidate her, Freeman refused to confess to something she didn't do. But the scariest part is that, according to Freeman, the FBI called her the next day and urged her to leave her home of 20 years because it wasn't safe. Freeman describes in a lawsuit how she left hours before a mob of angry Trump supporters surrounded her home, shouting through bullhorns. Since then, she's moved from house to house in fear for her safety.
They should have brought pizzas with them then. But so
They actually did order a bunch of pizzas to her house.
But not for that giant mob rally though. See, they forgot their manners. Yeah. See, I like how we can just joke. but okay, so Trayvon Cuddy, who's named in that sprawling indictment that Fonnie Willis put out, all those racketeering charges. I think 19 individuals indicted, facing a lot of jail time. So the day after that came out, I went on Trayvon's Instagram account and saw that she posted a story from her friend that supports her. That friend so happened to be you. But also, we know Trayvon from being the crisis manager, publicist for Kanye West, also representing the Pied Piper himself. May he rot in jail.
Oh, gosh.
But so we know her from that, right? And then so she shows up at Ruby Freeman's house, uninvited, saying that all this stuff is going to happen to Ruby if she doesn't, confess to what she did wrong. Ruby doesn't want to meet with her, but decides to meet with her at the police station in front of officers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she wants to meet because she's like, listen, this lady came knocking on my door. I don't know who to believe. I'm scared. I'm calling you guys so that you guys can be around for the meeting. So they go to the police station to meet together in front of the police officer. Now, let me back up because your listeners are going to like this little thing and they can just stew on this for a second because I'm still stewing on it myself.
All right, hit me with it.
So, okay. So let me talk about the characters involved here. So Trayvon, okay, used to be Kanye West's publicist, okay? Mm-hmm. She was also the publicist for R. Kelly. Sus, okay? Hella sus, right? Everybody's like, why? How all of a sudden did she get connected to Trump? Well, she got the call from this chaplain, okay, who was in Georgia, and that chaplain had a connection to Columbine and 9/11, like two of the biggest like conspiracy moments, you know, in recent history that people love to stew over.
And
What's
to remind
up?
you who the chaplain is, it's this guy right here.
Hey, what's going on?
Yes,
Yeah, my name's Steve Lee,
Yep.
and I'm a pastor, and
That guy
that guy
who
Yeah,
showed up
that
at
guy.
Ruby's house, the white guy that she didn't want to talk to.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. So he was the head chaplain for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms who responded to the Columbine school shooting. So that was kind of like the end of his career. And then he went on to work with, you know, politicians and things like that. And then shortly after that, 9/11 happened, and he went to, you know, the grounds at Ground Zero to, you know, do what chaplains do in those moments.
So why are you calling all of it sus, though?
I just, you know, I think the characters are interesting. Oh, and then we have Harrison Floyd, who is with Black Voices for Trump, and he was connected to Trump. Okay, so
Not
Harrison
Ford. Yeah, Harrison Floyd.
not Harrison Ford, Harrison Floyd. So Harrison Floyd knew Will, and he knew Trayvon. Okay, he kind
Travion.
of connect Travion. Sorry, T.
T. There you go. T. There. That's much easier.
T. Okay, so he's kind, you know, Harrison is kind of the conduit between her and the chaplain, who the chaplain is the first person that went to go see Ruby. Okay, I just think it's interesting, the connection of it all. I don't know. That's just my weird mind going for just a
Because-
second.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting how everybody showed up after Ruby Freeman was doxxed by the Gateway Pundit, and everybody shows up and descends on Atlanta, Georgia, and goes to her house specifically to say that she's in all this danger.
Yeah.
And she was in danger from Trump supporters.
Yeah, I think what happened is Trump called, or I'm sorry, Harrison called Will, and he said, "Hey, man, oh no, don't even do the mic drop on me. Don't even try it. Don't even try it." For you guys that are just listening, he's doing a mic drop. He's being extra.
Bam.
He's being extra. I think Harrison, you know, was talking to Trump, and Trump said, "Hey, listen, Harrison, we got to get this Ruby lady on the phone because she's the one that we can get to tell us what really happened, right?" So that's kind of how that all went down. And at the same time, Chaplain Will, he had heard that that Ruby was kind of getting nervous, and she was, you know, looking for some type of representation. So they thought, okay, this is the perfect moment to sweep in here, offer her a deal of protection in exchange for the tea. Okay, on what
because
happened.
the chaplain was some random pastor from, I believe, Michigan.
Yeah.
Right. So people started descending from all parts of the country.
Right.
Travion from Chicago came down to Atlanta. So people descended upon Ruby Freeman's house because they got wrapped up, in my opinion. I think talking about tea, I think they drank the tea and the Kool-Aid of Big T and started believing the lies that the election was stolen from him because he started planting the seeds. Let's back up. Because he started planting the seeds that the election was going to be stolen from him months before the actual election took place.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when people saw that he lost, in especially Georgia of all places, right, because that had been such a reliably red state for so long, that's when these conspiracies started popping up.
Mm-hmm. How come nobody says anything about when Hillary contested the election and she was like, it was stolen, when Al Gore did the same thing?
Al Gore didn't. Al Gore certified his election because he was vice president at the time, so he certified the election. People were saying that the election was stolen. People did not think that Donald Trump would win. And going into 2020, I was telling even Trump supporters, I'm like, you guys, don't think Joe Biden cannot win. Don't think Trump is going to just wipe the floor with him, because the same thing happened in 2016 with Hillary supporters, and they ended up losing, right? So don't get too confident going in. We learned from experience in 2016 that the unimaginable can happen. But when people saw Pennsylvania and like Michigan and Wisconsin, right, the blue wall start to crumble under the election of 2016, that's when people started to cry, you know, that Hillary really won the election, that there's some type of fraud going on, because there's no way that people could vote in Donald Trump. What they didn't do, though, was to stand on people's homes and try to overturn a rightfully won election.
Mm-hmm. Hey, we're passionate people. You know, explain to me that, okay, this is why his message of the election was stolen was so believable, because every time they were showing a Biden rally, it was like 5 folding chairs and like
Biden was COVIDing. He was in his basement.
But how come nobody cared about COVID when it came to a Trump rally?
Because they were COVID deniers. You know
we're
that.
the super spreaders.
they were doing vermiticide, whatever horse shit, and injecting themselves with Clorox.
But we were right. It was all a big scam.
It was hindsight. You can say you're right because people took precautions and socially distanced and kept this thing at bay. So yeah, you can say you're right because this thing didn't fully spread like it could have.
Yeah, but that alone tells you we were far ahead. Okay, of the curve.
Oh, God, that's for another episode right there.
I know. We're digressing. We need to get back to T and Chaplin and what's his name? Harrison. So anyway, so they're at the police station, right?
Yeah.
They're telling Ruby, and the video is crazy because they're telling Ruby, like, hey, listen, we have very little amount of time. We're here to offer you some protection. We know that you've been wanting protection. And Travion motions out into the hallway where there's officers standing, almost implicating that these officers are not who they seem to be, because she calls them, there are people at a federal level involved. So I'm assuming
the people at the federal level that were involved, I'll tell you, because you're going to assume, I'll tell you, it was Rudy Giuliani, Trump himself, Mark Meadows. Those are the federal people involved. That's who she was talking about, the people in the Trump administration.
Yeah, I thought she was probably talking about the same people that are involved in covering up the Hunter Biden scandal, but we can totally agree to disagree right there. You know, you say scandal, I say whatever. Okay.
Hunter Biden. Here we go.
Here we go. Okay. Anyways, we're gonna keep digressing.
He's a clown. He's an absolute clown. Imagine you fucking being, Joe Biden in the White House running for re-election. You have this fuck up of a son. It's kind of like the Bush twins in a way, or the Bush girls. They weren't twins, but you know what I mean. They're right. Coming back drunk all the time.
You know what? Hey, everybody listening, if you guys are not believing the whole Hunter Biden scandal, go pick up the book Laptop from Hell. It is an excellent read, and it actually details everything. It was written 3 years ago, but it details everything that we're hearing about now come out.
Yeah, put Hunter in jail. It doesn't affect Joe Biden though, but we digressed though.
Oh my gosh, we could totally talk about that like for hours. Anyways,
next episode.
So Ruby's sitting there and she's like, oh, for real? Like there's people out here that are wanting to get me. Yeah, this kind of sounds like something I'm looking for. So in the beginning, Ruby is kind of like now looking at what they're offering her as, something that she is potentially interested in taking this quote unquote protection. And she says yes to them. She gets escorted home by the officers. And then at which point she continues to get people harassing her. Mm-hmm. Okay. The next morning, the FBI shows up and whisks her away for 2 months.
And this is what Ruby has to say on that.
Your conversation with the FBI about needing to leave your home for your own safety, or perhaps recommending it. Do you remember, was there a specific threat that prompted that, or was it the accumulation of threats that you had received?
What prompted it was getting ready to January 6th was about to come. And they did not want me to be at home because of all the threats and everything that I had gotten. They didn't want me to be there in fear of, the people were coming to my home, and I had a lot of that. So they didn't want me to be there just in case something happened. I asked, how long am I going to have to be at home? And they said, at least until the inauguration.
And she was gone for much longer because people, again, were descending upon her home, accusing her of running ballots for Joe Biden multiple times through the readers. Never mind the fact that it was only Joe Biden ballots, right? Like only Joe Biden's name was circled on the ballot. That was it. Like there was no other races that were voted for. Just Joe Biden's name on these ballots that were ran multiple times to turn the election in his favor in Georgia.
You know what's crazy about that? So here's why not all
sarcasm, if you couldn't tell.
No. Like
That was shade.
No, because I want to bring this little fun fact in, okay? And this just goes to show that not all of us Trump supporters are crazy and not able to admit the truth. So I was one of the weirdos that watched that symposium. You remember the symposium that they had, that they were going to like count all the votes? It was put on by Mike Lindell, the cyber symposium.
Oh, you're talking about My Pillow guy?
Yes.
Yeah, the My Pillow symposium. Yeah, okay.
So I watched every stinking minute of that thing, okay?
Okay.
To go with what you were saying, what's crazy is when they retallied everything in some states, the numbers actually did change for Trump in some states where he thought he had the lead. I mean, he still won, right? The numbers showed he still won, but his number was a lot lower than what it initially calculated. So when they
were the ones that were stuffing the ballot boxes then.
Well, but see, it just goes to show that something definitely went on. Something definitely went on because the numbers were fluctuating a great deal, like for both of them. You know what I mean? So something definitely went wrong. That's why I say I can't 100% say there wasn't any funny business, because that cyber symposium, I looked at that and I was like, okay, that's weird to me. But then, I kind of discounted it too at the same time because they offered people money to like disprove. And like, I guess several people did, and then they never paid.
Because you can go to the election. I forgot what company it was. Cyber Coders, whatever it was called, whatever election company that was brought into Arizona. Same thing happened there. A full recount. Trump still lost. So to me, what it seems like is that Trump lost, and everybody was looking for some type of person to blame it on because he was saying that fraud was going to occur. Then it just so happened perfectly, honestly, that Ruby Freeman was that fall person. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, I mean, Trump definitely, because he was making it a big deal. I mean, he was just saying like this Ruby character, she's a career criminal. I mean, that's what he said. She was a career criminal.
And she's not. She's a small business owner.
And scammer. Well, I mean, I don't know. There's lots of small business owners that have a record, right? I don't know what she was doing.
I mean, there's also presidents that have a record too. Oh,
yeah,
soon to be ex-presidents have records.
But I'm looking at this objectively, okay? I'm not going to look at her past or what she was doing. Just looking at these documents in her own words. I don't believe Ruby was in on the joke when they were like, we're going to put some extra stuff in there. Okay. I don't think she was in on that. At all. Did Trump and, the Patriots, blow this up bigger and bigger and bigger? Could it have been possible that there were some Trump supporters that were, rallying in her front yard and delivering pizzas to her house? Absolutely. All that's possible. But could it also be possible that the FBI, which we now know is really, really corrupt, or at least part of it is, that they could have created this fear-mongering in Ruby, because Ruby really seemed like the type of person that was all about whatever the government says, I'm going to buy it. I mean, she was like double masking. She was like putting on hand sanitizer, like in a lot of these videos. She was like, you ain't going to get no COVID with me.
Oh, so you mean that she played by the rules then? That's what you're saying.
Oh, the rules.
So you're saying that Ruby Freeman was a rule follower and there was no possible way
I think
that she would have broken the law and broken the rules.
I think she was your typical senior citizen. You know what I mean? Like that. Exactly. Like you said, she's a rule follower. The government says this. That's what it is. This is what you're supposed to do. That's what, that's what she does. I think that's exactly what it is. And they took advantage of the fact that she was going to go with the flow.
Okay. Well, let's zoom out then from like the presidential race, because in Georgia, there were also 2 Senate races, right? Joe Biden won the presidential race. Okay. The 2 Senate races, it was David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, right? And then running against Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, the 2 Democrats, okay? Both of those races had to go to runoffs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there was no clear Democratic winner there in those races. So why was it the fact that even Brian Kemp, the governor, beat Stacey Abrams solidly, okay? So why was it that these races all didn't skew for the Democrats if people were stuffing the ballots with Democratic votes? Were they only selecting Joe Biden's name then?
Yeah. No, I hear you. Listen, I hear you on that. And I totally agree with you. To take it a step further, I fully acknowledge and admit that while Trump was screaming election fraud, he was also screaming, make sure you go out to the voting, location in your area and vote for this person that I'm propping up, right? Which is it? Is there voter fraud, or should we take, what you're telling us to do seriously and go vote? Because why would I vote if there's voter fraud, right?
And there are also like 28,000 people, I think, in Georgia who did not vote for the president at all. They voted down ballot, but left the presidential race open or empty.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I hope that in this trial that the pieces get put together. My purpose in doing this show revolving around Travion is to talk about her particular involvement in this.
Yeah, talk about her involvement real quick, because this is interesting to me, because she, like we said, she was Kanye West's, publicist, R. Kelly's publicist. She somehow got involved in this whole situation, saying that Ruby Freeman was in real danger and needed her help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because before publicist, she's a crisis manager, right?
Like old girl from Scandal.
Yeah, Olivia. What's her name? No.
Olivia Pope.
Is it Olivia? I love that show.
Yeah, it's such a good show.
Yeah, for real. She was like the Olivia Pope. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so, somehow she knew somebody who knew somebody, and that's how she got involved in that. But, it's interesting. Like, that was around the same time that Kanye was getting close to Trump, right? Maybe Kanye recommended her. I don't know.
I just thought that the pastor that showed up at Ruby's house to talk to the white guy just called his nearest black friend that referred him to Travion.
Right. Well, that's what I said on the show. I was like, I get it. Ruby was scared. A white old man shows up at your house. It's Georgia. You could be scared. So phone a black friend and get them over there.
Come down here. Get my black friend.
Right.
I have a nice black friend that you can talk to.
Yeah. So they said, but what was funny was when Ruby was like looking with the police officer at the Ring camera, and I showed that last night on the show. She's like, she black, because Travion is kind of light skinned, like. She's one of those, like, in different lighting, she might look darker, but then, like, she looks really light in other situations.
She looked like Geordi from Star Trek because she had embalming glasses on that wrapped around her eyes. That's the only thing I remember, like,
in that picture.
She looked like half Geordi and half LaToya Jackson.
Yeah, in that picture. But then in some pictures, she looks like me. Like, it's really weird. Like, she's lighter, like, more olive tone skin. So, yeah, but you could hear Ruby on the thing saying, like, oh, she black? I didn't even know. Like,
Ruby. She don't trust nobody.
The police officer is like writing, looking at the video to like write down details about what she's, her identity, so she could get her down. And I just found that funny. So, that's why I have a special place in my heart for Ruby, because you could tell, like, she's so oblivious.
Yeah.
She's so oblivious. Like, that's why I don't think she knew.
Because you see her as a whistleblower.
Yes.
Right. And
the potential to be.
Right. And I can respect that, because that's your perspective on the issue.
Yeah.
She wasn't the only person named the whole conspiracy to turn Georgia from Trump, which it never was in his column, to Joe Biden. There were a lot of election workers that were targeted. She is just the one that everybody gravitated towards.
Because you showed her name, yeah.
Anybody whose name was out, even now, the people that indicted everybody, those 19 individuals for the racketeering case, the jurors now, their names were on the indictment, and they're being targeted as well. So anybody who disagrees with Trump essentially becomes, in the eye of the storm.
Yeah.
Ruby Freeman and her daughter filed a lawsuit against Rudy Giuliani, and this happened right here.
The lawsuit claims Donald Trump's former attorney, Rudy Giuliani, made a number of false statements when he accused former Fulton County elections workers Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shay Moss of committing voter fraud when they were counting votes at State Farm Arena in November 2020. Giuliani presented this video to a state Senate subcommittee a month later and said it was proof of fraud.
And then you can see them counting the ballots more than once, 2, 3, 4, 5 times.
So you're saying they're running through multiple times, running the ballots multiple times over and over and over again.
That's what they said.
You would have to be a moron not to realize that that's voter fraud.
But it was
voter fraud. See my mic right here? See the mic? All right, ready?
Wait a minute. You know what? I forgot I had a mic too.
I'm getting my mic ready right here. Ready?
All right, ready? Ready? Go.
Federal and state investigators proved there was no massive voter fraud anywhere in Georgia, and the state elections board went so far as to single out Freeman and Moss as being cleared of any wrongdoing.
So they watched the videotapes from State Farm Arena. They went through it frame by frame, saying that there was nothing out of the ordinary that happened. They even specifically cleared Ruby and her daughter. Specifically, even when people said there was a USB drive full of dead people voting being exchanged between her and her daughter, it was just a breath mint. Okay, so all that happened. My mic is on my hand.
His response, Giuliani admitted he had lied. Specifically,
That was the mic falling right there. So Giuliani lied about everything. He said everything was a lie, that everything was simply made up, and it was part of his free speech. That's what he's claiming it to be. But he said every single thing about Ruby and her daughter was a complete lie.
Listen, I am trying to find right now what she said about the USB, okay? I wish I would have been prepared on this one. Second of all, we don't claim Rudy Giuliani, okay?
Oh, you don't claim him? You don't like him because his dye was running?
No, I don't. Yeah, dude, that was the end for me. Like when his dye, I was like, bro, what is going on?
In front of like the fertilizer or like whatever he was in front of. It was something like the most random fucking place.
Oh my, that was so embarrassing. Like I was just like, I can't. Okay, from this point on, I can't claim you. I can't claim you at this point.
And he had the biggest fall from grace, man, because after 9/11, every single person loved Rudy Giuliani. He was the best person in America after 9/11, and then
he really was.
He's known for, taking down the mob, right? Using the federal RICO Act, right, against the mob, the one that he's wrapped up in Georgia, which I fucking love. It's like full circle moment.
Oh gosh. Man, okay, wait, I'm trying to see what she said about this USB. Okay, so she said, and again, Ruby, man, she's hard to put in words, okay? She said, the part I did not discuss, I want to go into, was more so because we all know the county doesn't care nothing about me. But the other part, cleared the county. They cleared my name as far as the ballots, but the other part, the USB poll, that's totally different. That's a totally different thing. The county don't care about clearing that because that was something I had in my name. So they say. At first, even though the county said doing ballots was the only thing I was going to be doing, and that's why I want an attorney, because I know my name needs to be cleared. So she wanted an attorney to clear her name because everybody's coming after her. Yeah, but see, like what I'm hearing there, like she's saying is clearly the county is like they were ready and willing to throw her under the bus. But I think they snapped into action when they saw Bobby Trump coming down with his people, and he was like, hey, let's swoop up Miss Ruby and let's get what she knows from them. And then all of a sudden the county was like, oh, we gotta protect Miss Ruby. I think they thought Miss Ruby was a fool and she was just gonna be like, I don't know anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, that's why I say something definitely went down, and I need to watch this trial because I need to know what went down. But the math ain't mathing for me. You got to see what cell block to visit your friend in. Come on. I'm sorry. I was a slow-hanging fruit. We got to listen, I think you and I are going to get a little side bet going when this trial kicks off. I would love to. Because I'm going to be watching. We should get a pool of people to join in. Yeah. I'm going to say I'm betting. I'm betting though, right? Like the reason she charged 19 people, by the way, is to get people to flip. I think there's some immunity deals coming down the pipeline here soon. For sure. And I think your friend is one of them. I think she's one of those immunity deals that are coming down the pipeline because she's very low hanging fruit, right? She doesn't have the high power attorneys to fight this. I'm not saying I'm not saying that, but like anything bad about her. But I'm saying just the fact that I would just flip, go ahead and save myself years of terrible Georgia jail. Did you see old girl Jenna Ellis? That she's got like a GoFundMe for her legal fund. And that's the problem. That's the sad part though. Like, all jokes aside, that's the sad part though with all this right here is that people that were perpetuating
this nice work of fiction are taking the real life consequences for it, and they have to come out of pocket for these attorneys, right? Whereas, Trump has the ability to raise money through his political action committees, through the RNC, his campaign fundraising, to pay for all his legal fees. So he doesn't have to come out of pocket for it at all. Meanwhile, people like your friend Travion has to come up with funds to do this because it's going to be a long trial.
Do you know if are they going to be tried together, or are these going to be like individual trials? That I haven't looked at yet.
They're going to be tried together. Mark Meadows is trying to remove himself from the indictment and try to get his case put into federal court. If it's in federal, Fani and her team will still try it, but he wants to go to federal because he's saying that his actions that he carried out in Atlanta were part of his official capacity as White House chief of staff. Which they're going to rule on that in a couple of weeks. I don't think that's going to work because you can't just go and try to find votes that didn't exist and commit fraud in the name of the country. But I really hope though that Travion flips. I don't want her going to jail. Despite of what I said about you can visit her, I didn't mean that. I was being funny.
Listen, she's from the streets, okay? She's gonna tough it out. My money's on Travion. My money's on UT.
I'm
gonna have free Travion Cootie merch on my website.
Oh yeah, when does she get arraigned? By the way, do you know about that? When is she gonna go turn herself in?
They have to do it by Friday. Next Friday.
Yeah. That's gonna be.
It's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, it's gonna be so nice to see.
And they're like, oh, we're gonna put Trump's mugshot out. They don't realize like that is only going to fuel people's love for him even more.
They're gonna turn him to a fucking Che Guevara or some shit. you know that's gonna happen. I already know that's gonna happen,
for
bro.
Sure.
That's gonna be on T-shirts every fucking day.
Yes, your grandchildren will be wearing these Trump shirts one day. They'll be sold at what is that, Urban Outfitters?
Oh boy, boy! My grandkid coming in a Trump mug. I don't know. I might. It's just really weird. It's just one of those things. It's like, I could possibly approve that, right?
It'd be badass.
I wouldn't have a MAGA hat though. I would dare. I would never wear a MAGA hat.
You know what? You should, because it's so fun. Like a friend of mine, he's black and he wears his MAGA hat, and people just lose their minds. To see a black man in a MAGA hat, not so much now, okay, but early on, people would look at that and be like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, it was like watching Dave Chappelle in that one episode when he was a blind Klansman.
Yeah, I wear my Make America Great Again hat. I wear Trump stuff all the time. I go to flag waves all the time, and that has nothing to do with Trump. I mean, that's just flag waving or whatever.
Yeah.
But everywhere I go, and granted, I am in Texas, and Texas loves Trump. But in the airport, I never meet a person that has anything bad to say about me wearing, my Trump stuff or my Make America Great. And you know what? I love that, because I would never say something to somebody wearing a Biden shirt or a Kamala shirt. Now, well, I'll take that back. If you're wearing a Kamala shirt, you're a straight up dumbass.
If you wear that little girl was me shirt, then I'm gonna fucking disown you. You know what I'm talking about, right?
No.
Remember when she hit Biden with that at the one of the debates?
About the bus.
That little girl was me, and then she put out shirts after that. I was like, "Fuck you, Kamala."
She put out shirts?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I don't like her. Well,
anyways.
Mo, thank you so much for conversing with me. And again, if you need me to put some money on the books for Travion, let me know, because I will. I'll gladly go fund that. Yeah.
We'll start a GoFundMe for her.
Thank you. I can't say thank you enough, because
I had fun.
The whole purpose of the conversation, we can have opposing viewpoints and still have a good time and just
absolutely
talk it out. People just want to yell and fucking finger point all the time.
Yeah. You know what I think you should do? Because I love your skit that you did with the chair, the folding chair.
Oh yeah.
And the Cardi B mic. Okay. I need a Ruby Freeman and Trump skit together where they work it out. You know what I mean? He apologizes for calling her out. You know what I mean?
Will you do that with me?
I can't do that. No, you know who we got to get for that is my co-host from my other show, Somewhere in the Middle, Suni. She does the Ruby Freeman. She does the Ruby Freeman, man.
I would love that. Oh, God, if I can find somebody who can do Trump, yeah, I would love that. Because I feel like they would work it out and have a song together, and then go on a tour. Like
Yeah.
they would probably just do ebony and ivory because that's just cheap, you know.
Right? Solid as a rock. Like they would sing it.
Yeah, solid like Barack.
Solid like Barack.
I love it. SNL sketch. See, look.
Amazing.
I'm sorry
we
for
think
sliding
alike.
your DMs with such aggression. No, but seriously though, thank you so much, Monique.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Where
you.
can people listen to your show or watch your show at?
Okay, so I have my own show at Let's Talk Darling on YouTube. You can follow me on Instagram under the same. And I don't do Truth Social, although I have an account there, but don't do nothing there. Just follow me on Instagram. And then I also do a show on YouTube on Tuesdays and Fridays called Somewhere in the Middle. You can find us on YouTube at Somewhere in the Middle USA. And listen to me, my co-host Suni, talk about all things politics, culture, entertainment, crime, race. We talk about everything over there. We're going to have you on our show next.
I would love to. I would love
Yeah.
to come inside there and I'll come with my jokes as well. And then
sure.
also provide the counter viewpoint and make sure I bring plenty of mic drops with me.
Oh no, we were talking and I was like, I really think you're gonna love Jerron. Like he's super cool and like he's gonna give the missing piece to our puzzle that we need, like a dissenting point of view. But you're not crazy.
Yeah,
So
and
thank
neither
you
are
for
you.
not being crazy.
Likewise. Yeah, no, 100%. It's like you know, I mean, yeah, that's one thing I forgot to ask you before I go. Have people called you crazy though? Because like, I mean, like as we talked about, you know, with Ruby Freeman, you weren't necessarily calling her, you know, a criminal and you know, stuffing the ballots. You believe that she's a whistleblower trying to tell the truth and got turned by the government to stay quiet. But have people called you crazy though, going down this?
For saying that?
Yeah, for pulling your documents. Okay.
No. Well, I mean, I just did the show yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people really, you know, I think all people care about in this indictment is Trump. I don't think people are really interested in the facts of how we got here.
Mm.
And that's what my whole purpose of doing that show is people need to understand what that whole trial is about. It's not just about Trump stating that he thought the election was rigged and all this other stuff. There's a lot of players involved.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we can connect those dots for people, maybe they can see some truth, you know, because, hey, even as a Trump supporter, there's some stuff that he does that I'm just like, yo, that's like hella sus of you. Like, I'm not comfortable with that. But still, you're really good at business.
It's yeah. And it's like you said, there are multiple players involved. They're all his fall people to ultimately, you know, take the fall for him so he doesn't get caught up in this whole election lie and trying to
we'll see.
turn over the duly elected president of the United States who deserves to be there legitimately, Joe Biden. But as always, though, if there's anything you want to chime in on, I see you rolling your eyes.
Yeah.
Leave a message at 213-935-0606.
213-935-0606 is the number as always. Thank you again so much, Monique, for joining me on Free Dope as my very first guest. And catch you next time. Bye.